welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we have the monster, which is the MPC. I don't even know what scale this thing is. It's 22 inches long in scale. Space 1999 Eagle. Now, we have reviewed one of these, the smaller version of it. I think it's 1/72nd scale, a few years ago, but this is the big brother. Now, if you're old enough to remember watching this on telly, then you're older than me, because it was probably around about the time where I wasn't into things. But funnily enough, I've got a die-cast one of these, which was one of my childhood toys that I've still got to this day, and that was exactly what this is, the Eagle Transporter. Iconic program. It was the golden age, if you like, of everything we do as modelers, because it was all practical effects. So at the end of the day, it was all scale models that were flying around the sets and little tiny bits of pyro. Brilliant, absolutely. And you remember, it was in the 70s. So obviously those days it was all practical effects. There was no CGI. So what you saw was obviously a craftsman, or a model maker in our case, who's gone through and built what you're seeing on screen, which is absolutely brilliant. So the box itself is huge and weighs a ton, as you can imagine. So we're literally right in here. So we've got a little bit of blurb all about it, about the actual Eagle Transporter itself, a little bit of a drawing of the actual Eagle Transporter. Then running around the box, we've got it down there. So the kit number for this one is MPC 825/06. Okay, some more about it, and there's a little bit about Brian Johnson, who's actually got the designer for the Eagle and did all the effects and everything else, as you can see. Some bits from the film itself, and then we've actually got a picture of what you're going to get, or hopefully you're going to get at the end of this. Now, this is going to be not straightforward, purely because of the way that this is, what it is, and all the bits that go through it. So it's going to be quite flashy, it's going to be quite chunky and everything else. Now, there's a couple of things in here. To be honest, this is John's kit. You know, John is one of our guys that's here. This is one of his, so he has got some goodies for it as well, as in this, which is some beautiful photo etch. It's very thick photo etch, and actually it's very heavy. We'll look at that in a moment. As you can imagine, it's all in here. We've got decals, we've got sort of warranty card, we've got the box. And just to give you the size of what this thing is actually going to be. So, just having a look through, the instructions, weirdly, are this, okay, which will be a nice fold-out sheet that we'll have to work our way around. Again, we were saying it is a little bit old school, all of this. It's going to be quite clunky and chunky and all the rest of it, but it's one of those things you sort of bear with it and work your way through. So starting off here at the top, working with the cockpit area, obviously we've got crew that's going to go inside it as well, as you can see, right the way through. So painting up the details, we've got some clear parts, things like that going to be going in, and then obviously joining it all through. Then we've got obviously this big spine system that runs through, very mechanical. And actually, when you think about the age of this program and what it was and everything else, probably not that far off of what you would get. Okay, so obviously we've got this sort of traverse system running right the way through, working it's in there. It's going to be quite big, lots of cleanup, I imagine, with all this type of stuff, and then obviously adding more details down into these, and then not gluing some parts and gluing lots of others, as you can imagine, running right the way through. Down in the bottom here, this is actually the sort of engine area, if you like, of it, the way that it actually works. Okay, so we've got all, obviously I suppose this is like sort of life support stuff and all the rest of it. It's going to go in behind the cockpit area, so we've got all of these bits going down, as you can imagine, right the way through. It's quite simplistic, but you'll be adding a lot of detail in a moment with the photo etch, as you can imagine. Those being put down right the way through, and then obviously we've got the shoulder pods, which obviously hold the landing gear and the thruster jets and things like that. Those are all being put in. They do have actually a working spring system in there to give them true you know, suspension system for the landing feet, the pads themselves. Okay, then onto the other side. So we're working down into the actual engine parts itself at the rear. I get it all in. Okay, so we were working through with these sort of, you know, nitrogen tanks and various things, and they're not sure what they were shooting in those days. Okay, more of this sort of piping for the actual trestle system, the way it goes through, adding those bottles down into there, more bottles being fitted in, and then obviously working for the capsule. Now they are interchangeable with different stages. That was the whole point of the transporter. These were sort of deployable, and obviously could be retrofitted for each particular one as it went through. So this is that sort of standard cabin type one for crew quarter being put in. Again, more details being put in there, as you can see. And then it's going to be bringing it together. So we've got this top sort of trestle system running down the back, and then the front and rear pods going down, which are going to click up into it. And then you've actually got screws which are going to hold the actual pod, for want of a better word, or capsule up inside it. Then fitting down the actual shoulders, being putting those down into it, and then the cockpit section and the rear engine section of those being fitted in there. And then obviously we've got these ones which are going to be the thruster jets and the main engines at the back being fitted down as well. And then fitting down the landing jets, obviously down on the bottom, being fitted all over this one down in there, and the little thruster jets on the side as those go in. Then the main engines, those are being fitted in there, then the landing pads, and then the pads for the actual compartment itself. And there you have one finished Eagle transporter. So, piece of cake. Can't see what the problem is. A joy to build. It's going to be a little bit more work than that, to be honest, when we start having a look through some of the parts. So, sorry John, I'm about to go into your kit. Okay, so what we've got down in here is the head. To give you an idea of the scale of this thing, it is quite big. Again, it's quite mechanical and clunky in its design and everything else, but it's being true to actually the actual set ones that were done for the TV show. Okay, so pretty much devoid of interior detail in there, but you're not going to see that side of it anyway. But you can see it's quite clunky, it's quite a heavy duty, you've got lots of flash running around, but there's not much actually on the parts themselves. Okay, and we got the other one down in here. They are a mirror of themselves, top and bottom. Okay, again, no real problem. Again, going to be quite nice. I think it will take weathering really, really well, and working its way through, so that's very nice. Then it's a case of trying to figure out what these things are, and seeing as I'm working on one of these at the moment, can you guess what that is? That to me looks like the back of a Tiger tank. In fact, it's so good, it just so happens I have one here. So shall we have a look? That's very close. This is a King Tiger back. You can see what they've done. They've taken these sections and they've put these across, and to actually use the rear of a King Tiger tank. And this is what we're saying, this is what the beauty of this era was. They used to go down to the local hobby shops, buy a load of kit, and then kit bash, as in taking bits from all different kits to make up what they needed. It was a staple thing in the 70s and early 80s before CGI come along, because to try and do this all by hand would take far too long, but to the untrained eye, they don't know that's the back end of a Tiger. Okay, and that's what you do. So all these parts, as you see down on here, the chances are they're going to be from another kit. And there's various sites out there that you can go around, which actually, that one's just a mirror as well, which will talk about and discuss what actual part is from what kit. And that's what they do. There is groups of people out there. Personally, I've got a bit more time on my hands, but that's what they do. They'll go around and actually, you know, work out what it is. Obviously, a lot of it is Star Wars based, but there is ones for pretty much every community. Okay, so we've got multiples of these. You can see we've got quite a little bit of flash running around on this. Okay, but generally, if I just drop this top camera down just a little bit closer, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, you've got the shoulder areas and everything else. And now I've said to you about, can you spot what things are? You know, people start going around there trying to work it all out. Obviously things like doors they haven't, but a lot of these things here, like this guy's or something else. So we've got multiples of this, as we said before, running right the way through. A little bit clunky, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day, but from a modelling point of view, it's just a case of get in there and then upgrade and make your way through. Okay, so we've got one of those. We've got a couple more of these. These are the side parts that are going to go on, and some of this framework. Now, the main thing you're going to be doing with this particular kit is getting rid of that. Okay, all the way through this, because I just want to show you, this is quite thick. It's not thin flash that's thin and wispy. This is actually quite heavy. So what you're going to need to do is deburr all of these joints, and they are extremely heavy. So if you have got one, this tool will come into your absolute phone. This isn't Alex Scraper. We've got reviews of this on the Flooring Model site. You can go off and see, and really this is what this tool is designed to do, because what you do, you just come along, you measure what size this is, and it will get rid of the actual, as you can see it on here, the burring that happens to give you a smooth joint, instead of sanding it and then getting flat spots and everything else. But all you'll do is go around every single part like that and clean it off, get rid of all of this stuff, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, but it is quite flashy, so you're going to be doing a lot of that. You can see the flash up on this top part all around there. This is flashy as hell all the way down. Cleanup will be really the make or break of this particular kit. Now we've got lots of multiples of the same thing because it is sort of the way it is sectioned. So this one down in here is got 4 of the same down in here. So we only need to pop 1 out. Okay. So down in here again, you can see we've got these sort of nitrogen tanks, whatever they are, for the rear engines. The pad area, as you can see, fitting through. More of this bar working right the way through. These guys again, which I'd love to know what they're off of. I'm sure somebody will email me with what it is. Okay, but as you can see, some of the plumbing work, the various parts. Again, it's all flashy, it's all going to need cleanup, but it's all part of the fun with this one. Like down here, you can see loads of flash on this particular part. It'll be one of those kits where it'll be worth it in the end. Honest, John. Good luck, John. Okay, so down in here we have multiples of, again, quite large framework, quite heavy actually. This one doesn't look too bad, it doesn't look too flashy at all, this part. Okay, and then obviously we've got the engine sections, the rear part of the cockpit I assume as it comes back, various things like that. Pretty straightforward, nicely done, all of that, no problems there. And then in here we've got various sections. I assume this is just the bottom section. A little bit of writing down there. So it's copyright 2015 China ITC, whoever they are. Okay, again, extremely thick, heavy duty. This stuff is very strong. It's going to be a lot better than the resin counterpart of this that I've seen. A few ejector pins running around, but these things are going to be easy clean up, and obviously if you're going to be doing down the bottom, but if you were to be opening up interiors and things, slightly different ball game. Okay, down here will be a mirror because we've got 2 the same. Again, plenty of flash all over this one as we can see, but there's piping work for the actual structure running through, no problem at all, and then the actual sides, and then we've got the windows for the top sections, and then I assume that's one of the edges. Again, just a little bit flashy, a little bit of cleanup required, but actually by the time you get into this I think you'll be fine. Ejector pins are quite heavy in this structural stuff. It's facing inward, so you're not going to worry about it too much, but it is going to be that thing where I think you're going to be spending an equal amount of time cleaning the parts to actually building. So I think 50% of everything you do with this particular kit is going to be that thing of building it and cleaning it and everything else like that. Just taking your time. It's probably worth spending a couple of evenings just cleaning all the parts before you get going. Okay, part A2, again, straightforward, nothing really exciting about there. It's clean, tidy, no problems at all. Okay, so we just pop this back in here so we can keep it somewhat together. I'll pop this one in here. Okay, so and that we'll have a look at the moment. So this we can have a look at. Again, difficult to know the sizing on this. I don't know exactly what scale this is supposed to be, but looking at the figure there, we're looking like about 1/35 type scale, maybe a little bit smaller. Not too sure on that. Again, plenty of piping, all your various stuff on this guy. Again, loads of cleanup required, but that's getting an old story now. It's going to need that everywhere. Half pilot as well, so he's going to sit into the seat and plug into it, as you can see. No real problems there, so we get 2 of those. Okay, different colour of plastic, which is a nice touch. So over here on the grey side we have the engines, which we're assuming this is going to be engines and feet and everything, so we're going to get multiples of exactly the same, because obviously there's 4 of everything. You've got 4 corners, 4 feet, you know, 4 engines. That's all they're doing. It's just a clever way, and in theory a quick way, because the designer of this could literally just make one and then just cast it and then flip it for the other corners right the way around. Incredibly quick, easy and very efficient way of making a model. So not so much detail on this one, but again it's that thing. So you've got these big engines. Now these big engines, if you wanted to, you can fork out a small mortgage and buy metal versions of them which have been aluminium turned. They are beautiful, fantastic, very expensive. Okay, but anyway, that'll be for a different review if you ever get one. So we've got the feet. No problem. The bottoms of the feet, the tops of the feet, very nice indeed. Some of the things, some of the workings. This is actually part of the suspension system. It's going to have a big old spring on that in a moment, which we'll have a look at. And then obviously some of the smaller things, the thruster jets, things like that, right the way down on here. Again, can't see any problem once you get past the flash and a little bit of clean up. There's no internal detail inside the engine. Would have been nice to have perhaps some, you know, ripples and various things going through, but it's just smooth on those. Okay, so that's no problem. Then we've got the, I won't take it out because I don't think we need to. We've got a couple of springs down in here, as you can see. Okay, they're pretty much standard. These two screws are the ones which are going to hold that center, you know, pod system in there. Then we've got the clear parts, which are, let's face it, they're just clear parts. So again, cockpit ones, no problem at all. Okay, and then obviously for the lower cockpit, and we've got the windows here, which are going to go for the pod. So 4 windows going to go in the top section of that pod. But it doesn't quite stop there, because we got some decals, which we'll have a look at. Okay. And actually they're very nicely printed. Who printed them? Licensing to ITV. God dear. MPC. USA, China, doesn't actually say, but as you can see, they're not too bad. Alpha Moon Base, we've actually got the markings, as you can see, right the way across the top here. Some of the smaller stuff, but these ones down here are actually beautifully done. Very nice, very sharp. No problem with any of those at all for the grills and everything else. And even these panels, very nicely done. Solid, nice black colour. No problem with it at all. The carrier film is minimal. So there's minimal carrier film on any of these, just a tiny little bit, probably less than 1/4 of a mil right the way round. So that's very nice indeed. Okay. Right, what you can do though, if you really want to go to town with this kit, and let's face it, it is lacking. I know it's technically, it is what it is because of obviously the age of it and everything else, but there are some aftermarket bits for it. So one of those is this. Okay, so we got down here, Power Graphics, Space 1999. It's for the Eagle transporter, we've got it down there. So it's a 22-inch photo-etched set. And it basically says, updating the amazing 22 Eagle from MPC with the cockpit window frames, passenger pod, landing gear, scissors, cockpit clamps, and so much more. Includes clear sheet plastic for distortion-free windows. I think what they're hinting at is that the kit ones are pretty crap. Okay, so I don't know if John's been in here yet. First off that hits you, this is very heavy. It's very thick. This isn't the thin type of photo etch, but we got down here, as we said, we've got the framing, we've got the doors, you've got obviously better gear, you've got some very nice, to be honest, just these Moonbase ones done like that is a nice touch. We've got the numbering system that's done. A lot of the nice bits here obviously is this bit around the window, so it's a nice bit of photo etch around the windows and everything else. So it is that thing, it's sharp, it's crisp, it's very thick. And did I mention it's very thick? It's more like a sheet of aluminium than photo etch, but it is what it is. It's going onto a thick chunky kit, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And then sorry, it mentioned about clear free windows. I'm just wondering where that bit is. Has John had that out already? Right, okay, so feel free to copy these templates. Okay, so they're not in here. I thought you would get a sheet of acetate with it for doing the windows, but it turns out I think you've got to buy your own bit of acetate to do windows. So it's giving you the template for these, and then you fit them in. Okay, fair enough. One way of doing getting around that problem. So some of the things it's changing over, as we can see down in here. If I run it around this way, probably easier. So we've got the air vent systems, that's going to be going on there. Then we've got the actual the cockpit clamps. So these are the clamps that are going to actually, from the actual back end of the cockpit, that clamp it onto the actual physical part of the ship. And it is physical because we've actually got the screws and pins, which you don't get in the kit either. So I think you have to get those in yourself. But if you're like me, you've probably got them in your drawer. Okay. Then we got the sort of the gantry and the actual doors, which we've seen in photo etch, the replacements of those. Then we've actually got that box that goes behind the cockpit section. We were saying sort of life support bits. that goes down in there like that. And then we've got the replacement of the scissors, which to be honest is probably a nice thing because they are far better than what actually you get in the kit. And there we go, and that is about it. A really, really very nice kit. Again, it's one of those things, if you're a collector or you're into your old sci-fi stuff and all the stuff from the 70s and all those great programs, this is definitely the kit for you.